Hello patrons! Okay, so this is the Ableton tutorial for Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So this is the session. It's not a very big session, as you can see. It's some tracks of strings in a group, and then the keys here, and then Natalie's voice. That's pretty much it. There's one extra little sample here, which Natalie cued using the Launchpad, but this will be a good quick tutorial. I think we're going to focus a little bit on the keys and the strings here. So here's what the keys sound like. Okay, so one cool thing about this here is you can hear that vibrato, sort of that like funky wobbling. That is aftertouch, which is here. So I can drag aftertouch onto any parameter here, and then when I press my keys harder on my keyboard, I recently got a keyboard that has aftertouch on it. In other words, it doesn't just track when and how hard you press the keys, but how hard you press them afterwards. So as I press a key, it's going to land here, and then the harder I press it, it's going to move up. This is massive, by the way. I'm in massive right now, which I really like. And massive allows me to control aftertouch, and I can drag aftertouch onto any parameter that I want in this entire session here. So I can have aftertouch controlling the dry wet of my reverb, or the size of my reverb, or whatever it is. So aftertouch is amazing. I've been having a lot of fun experimenting with it, and that's how I was able to get so much cool vibrato and control on these keys. Listen again. Okay, so what's going on here, by the way, is this is MIDI. This is me playing MIDI right in to the computer and recording it. You can see how dark the note is corresponds with how loud it's played. I also have control of independent notes and their velocities here. So like when I made a mistake, I didn't hit a key loud enough, so I just dragged up the slider, and that allowed me to correct my performance a little bit and just make certain notes a little bit louder. I think I only did it for one or two notes that I just didn't hit hard enough. But I really like recording that way because it allows you to to go in and actually adjust each note. But you can, these are individual chords. Etc. So so that's the keys. Next up is strings. So here's the group of the strings soloed. I wrote this out using Sibelius notation software. And you can hear Natalie's voice in there a little bit as well because we were recording live, obviously. But so how I build strings is generally I write them out. I play it on keyboard, and then I write it out on Sibelius, and I create parts for each player. But I arrange strings on a piano. I don't use, I don't know how else you would do it. I play them out on a piano, and then I transcribe each voice. Okay, then Natalie's voice here is not super complicated. There's some compression, there's a little bit of EQ here, just my standard EQ where I cut out a little bit of the mids for Natalie. I high pass it, there's a little bit of a limiter here to boost her volume up a tad. And that's pretty much it. Oh, here's one more keyboard patch for the middle. Sort of an organ style patch. And actually, let's track, here we go. So Natalie's, while we're singing and playing, Natalie's turning a knob, which is creating a little bit of waviness here, and it's building this synth. Oh, I flubbed up there. So this knob, let's see what that's tracked to here. That's tracked to offset of chorus, wavetable position, that oscillator isn't on, filter cutoff, sine shaper is not on. So that's it. It's mostly cutoff and offset, and that's creating this kind of building sort of synth. So it sounds much quieter over here than it does at the end. You can hear there's a lot more high frequencies up there because the oscillator 2, sorry, this patch here, this knob is tracked with with filter cutoff. So so yeah, this session just really wasn't that complicated. Setting up the cameras, honestly, and getting all the string players here, producing the whole thing, that was the most complicated part of the whole thing. This chord here, that was a sample that Natalie cued during the session, and it was on a launch pad, so she just pressed it at the right time, and then it gave us that really full swell there. So the only other thing I can say, I think, about a session like this is with the strings, it's very important to me that the strings are arranged in a way that makes sense. So I spend a lot of time on these string arrangements. I go over every single chord and every single note, and I try to treat each player as if the player is playing a melody. So I don't like to jump around strange. I basically arrange strings like you would arrange a Bach chorale. I have sort of a very classical, I think, style of arranging strings usually. And I don't know, I just like the way it sounds when it's done like that. So, okay, there it is, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. This isn't a super long tutorial this time, because it's just not a very complicated session, but more coming next time. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Arrivederci, thank you again for being patrons, and rock on. Adios.